Well, you may have just heard our conversation. If you didn't, it will be up on the podcast after the show, wherever you get your podcast. Search Pete Mundo, search KCMO, and hit that subscribe button. We just got done talking with David Jordan, and David is the president and CEO of the United Methodist Health Ministry Fund, after they put out a press release last week saying that Kansas will lose up to $4 billion in Medicaid funding over 10 years under the One Big Beautiful Bill. And obviously, there were a lot of opinions on that, and it was an interesting conversation. Keith and Weatherby, go ahead, Keith.
Well, first point I'd like to make is I'd like to quote a movie called Walk the Line, where Joaquin Phoenix is talking to Reese Witherspoon, and he says, there's a lot of ifs in that statement. And then moving on from there, he needs to understand who the audience is he's trying to talk to, because if you're telling people that they may lose, trying to convince me that it's a bad thing, if they're going to lose their Medicaid because of priorities, well, then they need to rethink their priorities. Have a nice day, Pete.
Thank you, Keith. I appreciate it. 913-408-7957. Paul in Kansas City, go ahead.
Hey, brother. Yeah, blaming the postal carrier that's in 100-degree heat delivering mail because you lost your Medicaid because you didn't get your mail in time is, it's kind of beyond the pale. And his point about government, they always want to say government's there to help you. We love big government. He just made the contrast that government's not there to help you because it's inefficient. Mm-hmm. And then the fact that if you're afraid to lose your health care because you're working 2 jobs, you got a baseball game, or all these excuses, look, there's a standard. And the IRS doesn't care if you at a baseball game. If you don't file your taxes, they're coming after you. So, do your paperwork. It's not that hard.
I mean, listen, this is what we know, Paul. We know that the bill will obviously impact people from the standpoint of, if you're illegal, obviously you get taken off Medicaid if you somehow have slipped through the cracks on that front. And we also know there are now a little more stringent requirements when it comes to working or volunteering 20 hours a week. Right now, as he alluded to there, that is more for Medicaid expansion states like Missouri than it is for Kansas. So then how do we get to this 13,000 number? And if it's just kind of this gray area of, well, there's more red tape and there's more basically confirmation that needs to happen when it comes to making sure you should be on Medicaid, to me, then we're just pulling numbers out of thin air. That's all we're doing here to try to make a political statement. John's in Lee's Summit. What's up, John?
Hey, Pete. I like those two previous callers because they made some good points. My family was on Medicaid. When I say my family, it was my wife and my 2 girls, because I was under the threshold of making the income to get health care any other way. Mm-hmm. Although not fun for me, it was kind of embarrassing, but it came down to getting my kids health care and getting a break on food. This more amount of red tape that the guy was talking about sounds like more checks and balances to me. Because when we were on Medicaid, we had to prove at a minimum once a year that we were still underneath the income threshold. Yep. And sometimes they would request additionally throughout the year documentation such as pay stubs to make sure that we were still within the range. Mm-hmm. That was fine with me.
Yep.
Because we had to prove that we were able to maintain that. We weren't out there spending money and putting our girls Medicaid. We were on Medicaid because we already were tight on money. Mm-hmm. So those people that are taking their kids to baseball games and whatnot, that just kind of made me throw my head back and laugh and go, those are the people that shouldn't be on Medicaid because they're not prioritizing their finances.
Exactly. And
so he talks about government efficiency. This is part of it. Mm-hmm. Making sure that the people that are on it should be able to be on it, and the ones that are on that line or past it and are sneaking through, they shouldn't be on it.
Yep. Thank you, John. I appreciate you sharing that story, my man. Glad you're back up on your own 2 feet. Thanks so much. Brian in Harrisonville. Go ahead, Brian. Got a minute? It's all yours. What's up?
Hey, Pete. Good morning. I think everybody's missing the bigger picture here a little bit. I think the ones that are really griping about this Medicare, Medicaid cut are the hospitals. they're going to come down to where they're not going to be able to milk the system like they've been milking it for years. And I think that's the real complaint here about all these people complaining about it is it's the higher ups.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen a poor doctor? I haven't.
Well, I haven't met all of them, but listen, they're harder to find than others. I'll say that much. That being said, listen, they go through a lot of schooling. My college roommate from Villanova, doctor, and we're hitting our mid to late 30s, and he's finally up and at it. So I know it takes a little bit of time. Nina in Kansas City, go ahead, Nina.
Hi, I just want to voice my opinion on this Medicaid. They do not respond to calls or correspondence, in my opinion. My grandchildren have been on Medicaid when they were babies, and I know that my child tried to get them off multiple times. They are now 16 and 17 years old, and I believe they are still on Medicaid. Periodically, we will get a letter from them about it. I have a girlfriend that is also was on it and tried to call them and let them know to take her off. She didn't need it, and she is still on it. So all these checks and balances, you can do all that, but unless you get people that are actually going to do the work and really, take the people off or respond to the correspondence, you're going to continue to keep people on. We have so many people on it that don't even need to be on it. And it's really because our government is not doing their job. They've become lazy, like everybody else in America today. Do your job.
I mean, listen, whether or not and thank you, Nina, are they not doing their job? Are they just turning the other cheek? Like, I don't want to assume the motives of the people who are doing the work. All I know is it's a broken system, and we want it to work for people that need it. But time and time again, we take a bunch of phone calls on this, and what happens? Someone knows someone who's abusing the system, slipping through the cracks. Happens all the time. And if you want a good, quality, efficient system that works for the people in need, like John, when he had 2 kids and a wife and was under that threshold and was embarrassed but needed it, that's who you want it to work for. And if that means 13,000 people are coming off, I mean, then they're not doing it the right way.